From thieves taking selfies on stolen phones to wanted criminals showing up in YouTube videos, here are some of the biggest idiots who got sent to jail by social media posts. Insta Slammer. Brazilian businesswoman Andresa de Lima loved to post vacation selfies with her husband on Instagram. But when your husband is a highly wanted criminal, that's not the best idea. See, since at least 2012, Andresa's husband, Ronald Roland, had run a sprawling money laundering scheme with the Mexican cartel, laundering over $900 million in just 5 years. That's insane. And Andresa wasn't much better. She was both aware of and involved in her husband's illegal activity, even allowing a bikini store she owned to be used for some of the money laundering. All the while, she regularly uploaded show-offy pictures of them traveling to places like Paris and Dubai to her Instagram, complete with geotagged locations and recognizable landmarks. How brain dead can you get? You won't be surprised to hear that the authorities were using these posts to track the couple's every move. By 2024, they'd pinpointed their location to a condominium in the Brazilian coastal town of Guarujá. It was time to strike. In the dead of night, a SWAT team bust down their door and took them both into custody. They also seized 34 luxury cars, 2 private jets, high-end watches, weapons, and numerous wads of cash. Jeez. But you know what makes this even crazier? It wasn't the first time this had happened to Roland. Back in 2019, he was arrested for a similar situation in Sao Paulo after his previous wife, guess what, tagged their location on social media. Wow, clearly he goes for girls as idiotic as he is. That time he'd been released after just a year, but after this, something tells me he's going to be spending a lot more time behind bars. Rob them with kindness. Bank robberies are always made out to look super high octane in the movies. But when 23-year-old Dominic Alfonseca walked into a bank in 2015 and handed the teller a handwritten note, he had something else entirely in mind. The note said for her to give him $150,000 and to please not sound the alarm until a minute after he'd left the bank. It was signed with a smiley face. Worried that if she didn't comply, the situation would escalate, the teller handed over the cash. Dominic left the bank with his ill-gotten gains, but for some insane reason, uploaded a picture of the note to Instagram alongside 2 videos he took during the robbery. Unsurprisingly, he was arrested that same day. But don't worry, he had an airtight defense. He claimed it didn't count as a robbery because he didn't demand the money. He just asked politely. What? Well, no amount of politeness would get him out of this one. Our gentleman bank robber was sentenced to 2 years and 11 months in jail. But what were the Instagram posts for? The answer is even dumber than you'd expect. Dominic was a small-time rapper and had orchestrated the whole thing as a kind of PR stunt. He later confessed that he'd hoped the robbery would get the attention of artists like Jay-Z and Lil Wayne and propel him into stardom. Yeah, it didn't work. At least he'll have plenty of free time to write music while in prison. But you can do something way more productive with your free time. Watch more of my videos. So don't be an idiot. Give those like and subscribe buttons some love and never miss out on my amazing content again. Live Stream. Here's a quick tip for any wannabe criminals watching. If you're ever being hunted by the police, don't start a live stream. 20-year-old Kevin Gaines Jr. ended up learning that lesson the hard way back in 2018. Despite being on the run for Grand Theft Auto and a host of other offenses, he decided it was a good idea to start streaming on Instagram Live. Because stupid. Little did he know at that moment the cops were practically on his doorstep. After spotting Kevin's vehicle parked outside, deputies surrounded the house while another officer watched the live stream from his phone. To check it was definitely the right place, the cops shone his flashlight through the window. Sure enough, Kevin's head snapped around in shock as the light pierced into his room, something the cops could see from the live stream. Kevin quickly shut off Instagram, but it was too late. Deputies rushed the house, and after a brief argument with the other tenants, Kevin stepped out and was taken into custody. There went his chances at a promising streaming career. Door-kicking dumbasses. We've all seen some absurd TikTok trends over the years, but this next one definitely takes the cake. In June 2024, two 15-year-old kids in Hernando County, Florida decided a great use of their time was to take part in the ridiculously named Door Kick Challenge. And yes, it's just as stupid as it sounds. That's all the so-called challenge is, kicking people's doors and running away. And believe it or not, after filming themselves kicking in the door of that house, the kids went on to do it to 3 others in the space of 2 weeks, all within walking distance of where they lived. Unsurprisingly, it wasn't long before they were both caught and arrested. Apparently, these two numbnuts had seen the trend online and wanted to do it for themselves, neglecting to think about how ridiculously brainless it was. Not only were they disturbing the peace, they could have easily been shot by some frightened homeowner, and that would have been much worse than the 4 burglary charges they faced instead. Selfie self-report. For most people, the worst thing about selfie can do is dent your confidence. For British burglar and massive dumbass Ashley Keast, however, it would do a whole lot worse. Back in 2013, Ashley broke into and ransacked a home in Brinsworth, England. He stole over $35,000 worth of goods, including a $3,000 Rolex, sentimental jewelry, and even an Audi A4. As if that wasn't enough, he also snatched a SIM card from one of the victims' phones. While the burglary had gone without a hitch, Ashley's critical error came when he decided to insert the stolen SIM card into his own phone, snap a selfie, and then post it on WhatsApp. Only because it wasn't his SIM, it wasn't his contacts. Unknowingly, he'd sent the picture to all of his victims' friends and colleagues. Man, how much stupider can you get? Lo and behold, some of the people who received the random selfie quickly contacted both the original SIM owner and the police. Ashley was arrested the next day and sentenced to 32 months in prison. But that's not quite the end of his stupidity. In December 2014, he was caught trying to send a threatening letter to his victim from prison. Because of this, he was charged again and slapped with a further 4 years on his sentence. I don't know about a selfie, but he sure needs to self-reflect on his life choices. Busted banker. Sometimes even criminals that appear to have at least 10 brain cells will do something completely idiotic and prove they've got less. Take Orlando Henderson. In April 2019, Orlando started working at a Wells Fargo bank in Charlotte, North Carolina. But when nobody was around, he began sneaking into the vault and stealing money. Despite taking only small amounts at first, Orlando's confidence grew, and it wasn't long before he was stealing up to $13,000 in a single day. But he wasn't just taking money recklessly. He covered his tracks by forging customer bank deposits, creating fraudulent deposit tickets, and destroying legitimate bank statements. Oh damn, that's actually kinda clever. All he had to do now was nothing stupid. After months of embezzling, however, Orlando clearly wasn't happy with the lack of recognition he was getting. So he started uploading pictures on Instagram showing off his massive stacks of stolen cash. Wow, that's not suspicious at all. Then, for the cherry on top, he made a $20,000 down payment on a Mercedes-Benz paid entirely in cash. With purchases that big and money being flaunted so recklessly, it wasn't long before the FBI started getting curious about where it was all coming from. Orlando was arrested in December 2019, and after a lengthy investigation, they discovered he'd taken over $88,000. He was charged with 2 counts of financial institution fraud, embezzlement, and misapplication, 12 counts of making false entries, and 19 counts of theft. With all that stacked together, Orlando could wind up serving up to 40 years in prison. Yikes. Hey, at least all his Instagram followers think he's cool, though. Cooking up a crime. Imagine you're an Italian police officer up late watching cooking videos. You're half dozing when suddenly something about the man on screen seems strangely familiar. His face is out of shot, but you're sure you know him from somewhere. Then it hits you. That tattoo on his arm is the same as one of Italy's most wanted criminals. Well, that's more or less what actually happened back in 2021. See, since 2014, alleged mafia fugitive Marc Ferrin Biard had been wanted for the trafficking of large quantities of a certain powder across Europe. It turned out that he'd been hiding out in the Dominican Republic and in his spare time made cooking tutorials with his wife. Yep, it's as weird as it sounds. The fugitive was smart enough not to show his face, but eventually an investigator recognized him by the distinguishing tattoo on his arm. What an oversight! During a string of mob-related arrests, Marc was finally caught and charged for his crimes. Unfortunately, the name of his channel wasn't released. I'd love to know what recipe he was cooking up that was so good it was worth risking jail time for. DUI influencer. When it comes to stupidity, nothing beats driving drunk. Except maybe live streaming yourself doing it? Yeah, that's exactly what Florida woman Whitney Beal did back in 2015. After a night out with friends, Whitney decided to get behind the wheel, but not before going live on Periscope.
Hi guys. If you're not new, I'm driving home drunk. Let's see if I get a DUI. In the USA, people, let's see if I get a DUI.
Yes, you heard right. She just said, "Let's see if I can get a DUI." What a complete idiot. Quickly amassing over 50 viewers, people watched in shock as Whitney sluggishly chatted to her audience while struggling to keep on the road.
Please, just supervise me as I'm driving. I feel like I'm not driving straight, but I should be, because I am.
It's difficult to watch. Thankfully, multiple viewers dialed 911, kicking off a huge manhunt. After being alerted, one officer logged on to their personal Periscope account to watch her stream and look for distinguishing landmarks. And it worked. Before long, police managed to pinpoint the intoxicated woman's position, and not a moment too soon. As they tried to pull her over, she drove straight into the curb without braking. Eventually, she stopped the vehicle and, after failing several field sobriety tests, was taken into custody. The punishment? A 6-month license suspension, 12-month probation with 150 hours of community service, plus 10 days of weekend work. Which is all well and good, but only a 6-month license ban? Really? I wouldn't trust her on the road ever again. The Instagram outlaw. When you think of gun-toting, cash-flashing, ne'er-do-gooders, you usually think of hardened criminals, right? Well, 17-year-old David Guerra challenged this stereotype when he posted several snaps of himself in 2022 posing with cash, illegal substances, and guns. While this Instagram posturing might have gotten him a few likes, though, it also got him some unwanted attention. Police received a tip about David's suspicious pics, and he was soon located while driving. They searched his car, and both he and another passenger were found in possession of a loaded gun, cash, and oil from a certain wacky plant. Not that that was all they found. After David was arrested, they searched his home and found 3 more guns as well as other illegal goods, including $15,000 in cash. For only 17, this kid had quite the stockpile. It seems he decided to abandon his homework in favor of selling certain illicit substances. That lack of homework is probably why he got himself into such a dumbass position in the first place. David would be charged with possession of a controlled substance and unlawfully carrying a weapon. Let this serve as a PSA for all kids out there. It can be a very quick trip from social media outlaw to the back of a squad car. Chick bank robber. You know how some people just can't keep a secret? Well, Hannah Sabata is that person taken to the absolute extreme. In a YouTube video she kookily titled Chick Bank Robber, then 19-year-old Hannah confessed to multiple crimes in possibly the most naughty's alt-girl way possible, by holding handwritten signs up to the tune of Warning by Green Day. Seriously, As well as robbing a bank for the relatively low sum of $6,000, she also stole someone's car, which she proudly holds up the keys to. Oh, and she fans herself with the aforementioned cash. Can this video get any more idiotic? A note in the description says she planned to pay off her student debt and go on a shopping spree the next day. Sadly for her, neither of those things would come to pass. After posting the video in November 2012, she was quickly found in connection with the robbery of a Cornerstone Bank in Waco and the theft of a Pontiac Grand Am and arrested. All but $30 of the stolen money was recovered, and Hannah was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison. With her insane video now sitting at over 2 million views, though, she's become a minor internet celebrity. Maybe that offers some comfort during lonely nights inside her prison cell. The joke didn't land. If I were going to make a list of social media do's and don'ts, posting bomb threats would be right near the top of my don't pile. Some people apparently disagree, though. In 2014, a 14-year-old Dutch girl made a very ill-advised tweet to the official American Airlines Twitter. In it, she wrote, "Hello, my name is Ibrahim, and I'm from Afghanistan. I'm part of Al-Qaeda, and on June 1st, I'm gonna do something really big. Bye." Now, if you know anything at all about airlines, it's that they take any kind of terror threat incredibly seriously, and this was no exception. American Airlines swiftly responded to the tweet saying her IP address and details had been forwarded to the FBI. Well, this changed her tone. She quickly tweeted back that the whole thing had been a joke made by her friend and pled for it not to go any further. Yeah, really funny joke. And sure, it was your friend. It seems even she knew the airline wasn't going to buy it and turned herself in to the Rotterdam police the same day. Ultimately, she was charged with posting a false or alarming announcement, though the consequences of that aren't public knowledge. Either way, I get the feeling she's gonna think twice before posting any more hilarious jokes online. The Queen of Tax Fraud. Anyone who labels themselves the Queen of Tax Fraud is clearly two things: a criminal and an egomaniac. But they could also be a complete idiot, like our next villain. Between 2009 and 2012, Florida resident Rashia Wilson ran an identity theft operation that defrauded the IRS out of millions of dollars. Working with her co-conspirator Maurice Larry, the two con artists successfully stole over $3 million, filing fraudulent tax returns in other people's names and collecting their refunds. For a two-person operation, the amount of money they stole is nuts. Surely someone with the know-how to pull off a scheme like this wouldn't throw it all away in the stupidest way ever, right? You know where this is going. When Rashia wasn't stealing millions, she was, guess what, flaunting her wealth on social media. What is wrong with these people? In one Facebook post, she declared herself the Queen of Tax Fraud before stating, "I'm a millionaire for the record, so if you think indicting me will be easy, it won't." Stealing all that money had clearly given her an insufferably inflated ego, though I suspect she was insufferable before that too. Little did she know, both herself and Maurice had been under investigation by Tampa police since 2010. It's almost like suddenly splashing an absolute bomb of cash out of nowhere is suspicious behavior. Seriously, Rashia spent an outrageous $30,000 on her daughter's first birthday party and bought an Audi valued at some $90,000. By 2012, however, the game was well and truly up. Police had enough evidence to seize Rashia's expensive car and a number of other ill-attained goods and arrest her. She was sentenced to 21 years in prison and presumably now goes by the moniker Queen of the Mess Hall. CopCon. Anyone who's used the internet for longer than 10 minutes will tell you there are plenty of con artists out there. Ones who pretend to be cops, though, that's a new level of dunderhead. In January 2024, a man named Sean McDonald was arrested for posting photos of himself on social media wearing what seemed to be an official Austin Police Department uniform. After confirming that McDonald had never worked in law enforcement, the Austin Police took him into custody. But why was he posting the images in the first place? Was it a Halloween costume gone too far? Of course not. Apparently, it was a ploy to make himself seem more successful and attractive to the opposite sex. One person alleged that after meeting Sean on a dating app, he'd claimed to be a police officer and sent them messages about police calls and incidences with other APD officers. Once he'd even showed up at her house in full uniform saying he'd just returned from a double shift. But the uniform was just a costume and Sean had never worked for the police a day in his life. There's something super creepy about all this. Luckily, officers stumbled across the images and, when they didn't recognize the supposed officer, launched the investigation. It's still ongoing, so we'll have to wait and see how it plays out, but it shows that you can never truly trust anyone online. Now, if you'll excuse me, my long-lost uncle just emailed me asking for my credit card information. Bonnie and Claude. In 2015, the savings bank in Asheville, Ohio was robbed. The man responsible was wearing a hooded sweatshirt and handed the teller a note demanding a heap of cash. After taking the money, he escaped on foot and wasn't seen again. Because of a lack of leads, early investigations had little success. Then, less than a month later, police received a tip about somebody named John Mogan who was acting suspiciously. Any guesses what he was doing? Yep, uploading pics of himself flaunting stacks of money on Facebook. As if that wasn't evidence enough, authorities discovered that John had only just been released from prison a month earlier after serving a 5-year sentence. And he'd been incarcerated for, drumroll please, a bank robbery. Oh, wow. Unsurprisingly, the police felt pretty confident that they'd found their perp. There was only one problem: all those facial tattoos. Nothing that distinctive had been reported by witnesses or they'd have already caught him. But there was another twist to this tale. Somebody else featured regularly in John's cash-flaunting photos, his girlfriend Ashley Dubow. The police suspected that Ashley was an accomplice to the crime and that she'd applied makeup to cover her boyfriend's tattoos for their robbery. After taking the couple in, they were proved right. Both pled guilty, with John sentenced to 3 years on robbery and theft charges and Ashley 2 years on both complicity to robbery and complicity to theft. I'd be shocked if these numbnuts even know what the word complicity even means. Annoying douchebag. There's a very fine line between internet prankster and annoying douchebag. As you might have guessed, 19-year-old Bakari Bronze Ogaro was very much on the wrong side of this line. Ogaro, or Mizzy as he's known online, was a British TikTok star who gained a following for stunts like tearing up library books and pretending to steal a woman's dog. Wow, how hilarious. Surprise, surprise, Ogaro's particular brand of outrageous prank video didn't take long to get him in serious trouble. His first major brush-up with the law was after he walked into a family's home without permission.
Come to the front door right now, please.
James?
James. Hi.
You man, come.
Hello, James.
We need to speak to James.
James.
Huh.
Hi. James.
Is this where the study group is?
No.
By trespassing on private property, he breached a community protection notice he'd been issued the year before for similar offenses. Ogaro was arrested and given a criminal behavior order preventing him from posting videos on social media without written permission from the people involved. As you might expect, he took this order very seriously and managed to avoid breaking it for a staggering couple of hours. Yep, the same day he left the courthouse, he uploaded videos of himself in public.
Hello world, it's your boy Mizzy. As you know, I got arrested the other day for the mad thing. The video I walked into a random house. I got fined £365 and I'm banned from this place. I cannot go ahead. The UK law is a joke though. Guys thought I was going to be burning off. But yes, hi!
And if that wasn't bad enough, he and his friends broke into another person's home less than a month later. Except unlike last time, they were chased out by an angry Alsatian. Good dog. Ogaro would be arrested again, but this time he got a much worse sentence: 18 weeks in prison and a ban from making or featuring in any social media content for 2 years. That's more like it. But are things really over for Mizzy? Maybe. Upon being released in January 2024, for the first time the prankster appeared to show empathy. In an apology, he said, "Don't go down the way that I went down, because look where it ended up." Genuine or not, I reckon it's gonna be a while before we hear from Mizzy again. Out with a bang. Outside of makeup tutorials and cats, the internet loves nothing more than crazy stunts. Unfortunately, that means some people take their stunts way too far to try and get clicks. Enter 22-year-old Pedro Ruiz and his 19-year-old girlfriend Mona Lisa Perez. Inspired by groups like Jackass and Nitro Circus, Pedro decided that in 2017 he was going to kick off a new stunt-driven YouTube channel with a bang. Quite literally. On June 26th, Pedro and Mona Lisa recorded their first video.
What's up, everybody? It's Damn It Boy. Why did I choose that name? Well, everything I'm gonna be showing you guys on my channel, you guys are gonna be saying, Damn It Boy. This right here is a 50 caliber Desert Eagle.
He explains they'd be testing the firepower of a 50 caliber Desert Eagle, one of the deadliest handguns in the world. How? By seeing if it was strong enough to punch through a copy of a hardback encyclopedia. Only in a push to get more views, Pedro added a life-threatening twist.
I'm just not gonna just set it and just shoot it. No. I'm going to stand behind it. And Mona Lisa is going to shoot it.
That's right, Mona Lisa would be shooting at Pedro from just 1 foot away with nothing but a 1.5-inch thick book to protect him. And just so you know, 50 caliber bullets are the biggest a person can buy in the US. You can probably see where this is going. Well, when the moment of truth came, Mona Lisa fired the shot and successfully hit the book, but shocker, the 1.5-inch hardback wasn't enough to stop the bullet. By the time police arrived, Pedro was already gone. If you thought that was traumatic enough, here's the clincher. The couple had a 3-year-old child who they'd brought along to witness the horrific event. I honestly have no words. Mona Lisa pled guilty to second-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 6 months in prison, as well as being prohibited from ever owning a firearm again. This is a tragic story, but it could have been so easily avoided. Don't play with guns, people. And on that somber note, we've reached the end of the video. What post did you think was the stupidest? Let me know down in the comments, and thanks for watching.